artist in residence. Okay. So you just function as one.
We just want to have a little group experience, so kind of grab your kumquat. I don't know how many people have eaten a kumquat. You guys are Southern Californians. There's no excuse. Grab the whole thing on the count of 3, and so on 3 you actually do the bite. 1, 2, 3. How do you interact as an artist or a designer or as a citizen in this spot? So we got all these people, we broke them up into little groups. Each group had a quadrant of the city. Asked them to go and find a stranger and ask the stranger for a hand-drawn map. So you'd kind of say like, oh, I'm trying to get to the art museum. You know, I'm not from here. Can you draw a little map on how to get there? And then we came back and then taped all the hand-drawn maps together to make this really big map of Toronto out of scrappy little napkins. So we're imagining maybe in the gallery there'll be some device so when the flood comes to the world, when the water starts raising up and the gallery starts getting flooded, this little device will maybe sound an alarm, or maybe it'll unlatch the boat from the gallery floor so that it can float off, and you guys will hear the sound and you'll come running to kind of get into the boat.
Just certain questions and that I'm maybe trying to answer, and I think that can change. You know, maybe in 10 years I'm doing something completely different. That's fine. I'm open to that. Just sort of following what I like to do at this moment.
I often say this thing that without this sewing machine in front of me, like you're standing in this kind of neighborhood that you don't know anyone. Without the sewing machine, people would just kind of like walk right by you. You know, you're a stranger. But with this old foot power sewing machine, I've had so many people that stop and say like, wow, you know, my grandmother had that sewing machine, and I remember being a little boy and sitting on the foot part, you know, and sleeping under there as a little boy. And you kind of realize that this strange little device of a sewing machine gives people the opportunity to kind of talk to a stranger that they wouldn't necessarily talk to. A whole nother world coming at you.
We have just a few more projects to show, but what I wanted to do right now is just have you stand up for a second.
Oh, stretching.
And just kind of stretch, because we're going to go into another gear.
And if anyone needs a kumquat, I can throw it to you.
And so for the Museum of Modern Art show, I took the small stipend that they gave me to plant 3 gardens, one in each microclimate in San Francisco. So through this, I worked with a former President Board of Supervisors, Matt Gonzalez, who ran for green mayor. So I called him and asked him, I have this idea, would you be interested in helping me liaison with the city? And when I showed him the picture of the city hall with the garden in front of it, he was like, you totally have it. There's historical precedent. You show that picture to City Hall, they're going to feel bad that they don't have the garden in front of City Hall right now. It was so well received. They wanted this program to happen on such a large level that I was like, okay, I'm an artist. I can kind of grow things, but I need to partner with someone who's a gardening entity. So I've partnered with the Garden for the Environment, which is a city-funded teaching garden. And through this, we created a starter kit. So basically what's happening right now is the city has given us $60,000 to do a pilot project this year. Since this project started a couple of years, I guess it was a couple of years ago, we've gotten funding. From that funding, we've gotten private funders who have almost matched the public funds. And now in June 2008, this year, as part of the Slow Food Nation, who's partnered with us, they're going to put a garden in front of City Hall again until August. So that's where that project's gone.
We've done projects at, you know, galleries and other schools and fancy museums. And there's lots of times that we leave that place and we're like, oh, you know, why was it such a bad experience? and sometimes I think it's this thing that, you know, it's like there's some lack of trust. And so people put up these walls. We're talking about like alienation and why do we get there? And, you know, people put up these walls and then of not trusting. And, you know, our experience here was the exact opposite. And it was this place of trust, and that let us kind of, you know, be ourselves